Hello and welcome to Renew, the show about the College of Forest Resources at Mississippi State University. The College of Forest Resources promotes and enables the conservation, management, and wise use of our natural resources. I'm your host, Leslie Berger. Today's show will feature the Department of Sustainable Bioproducts. Here to represent that department is Assistant Professor Dr. Jason Street. Thank you for joining us today.
Great to be here.
So you work in the Department of Sustainable Bioproducts. I understand there's a brand new undergraduate curriculum. So could you tell me a little bit what that undergraduate curriculum is about?
Sure. Well, we used to be the Forest Products Department, and we've now changed our name to be more all-encompassing, to take whatever material that can be grown and distributed in a with basically anything that, like corn stover, agricultural waste, switchgrass, any kind of material that is renewable, that can be grown from the ground. And so we've got a curriculum that reflects that. So we'll take, we've got folks that are interested more in maybe the biology side or dealing with microbes. And so we have folks that will work with trying to remove termites or fungus from trees or other materials, and we've got classes focusing on the traditional wood products. We still focus on those things, like furniture or wood testing to try to improve the structural properties. Then we have folks that are more interested or focused more on the chemical side of things. So we have people that deal with wood chemistry and basically creating oil from trees or other renewable materials. So there's a lot of different things that can go on. But what's great about our major is you don't have to have basically take all these advanced calculus classes or advanced chemistry classes or advanced, you have more of a hands-on grasp of the different technologies that are available. You go through and learn how to use GCMS, for example, or different types of basically determining how different things work, and as far as Instron machines go, we've got quite a bit of those on our campus as well. So students have got a more hands-on approach to everything involved in their field versus just kind of having their nose in a book and learning the theory about everything.
Right. So it sounds like there's a lot of careers that would be available to students when they finish their degree. Could you give me just a kind of a broad picture of what that might look like? Sure.
We've got folks that are all the time emailing me or calling me wanting people to work in their labs. Forest Products National Lab or USDA labs need folks that can do some analytical chemistry. We've got people that are interested in folks coming to work for them doing lumber testing to determine if the grade stamps are still what they need to be, and we've got people that go on to become managers of mills or different types of plants. People go on to work with all kinds of different companies that are involved in anything that's sustainable. So.
Well, great. So you brought some pictures to show some of the kinds of activities that go on, those hands-on activities that you were mentioning. We're going to run through some of those pictures, and as we do, would you explain a little bit about how the students are being engaged in the technology?
Sure. So, for example, is a press that we use in our lab. It mimics a commercial press, and so students are able to form particle board or plywood. And the next picture shows some of the samples that were created with some microcrystalline cellulose, so some cellulose that's been treated, so essentially cotton. So cotton that's been broken down and implemented into the particle board to try to give it a better structural property of dynamic impact strength. So you could pack a material with all of basically, instead of using traditional pallets, you could make your pallets out of that, and it would give a little bit. It acts like a sponge to help absorb the energy. The next picture talks about, I've got a student working on cross-laminated timber, and if you look at that picture there, it shows it's oriented in one direction, turn it 90 degrees. The next layer, it's similar to how plywood is created, but we're using dimensional lumber to build the structure. And the next picture shows some testing that's being done with CLT to prove that it could potentially replace I-beams. That material will actually perform much better than traditional I-beam. If there was a fire, for instance, traditional I-beam would fail much quicker than a CLT panel. The next picture shows that this is our bio-oil reactor we have in our lab that students actually learn how to change the different feedstock components and use different catalysts to upgrade the vapors. I've got a student right now that's working on attempting to co-feed plastic and biomass in to determine that. And then my other graduate student, Cody Blake, who's coming on after me, is working with pelleting, and this is our we call our industrial scale pelletizer. And if you zoom in there, you'll see that basically it works similar to a Play-Doh extruder. If you ever used one of those, where you just you have, there's a roller system that moves sawdust through it, and there's knives that act and rotate around to cut those pellets off. And there's the holes that you see there. And this is, these things are huge in industry for trying to transform these huge piles of residual waste that are coming out of sawmills. That's become a huge problem to try to upgrade that material that's basically, it's just a waste. Nobody's
take the trash and be able to use it for something
trash
good.
and try to upgrade that.
Right. Well, I'm looking forward to hearing more about what Cody's going to do, and we'll be back just in a few minutes after a break.
The sense of place. We all have it. Often grown from deep roots in small-town communities. At Mississippi State University, our Carl Small Town Center is strengthening these ties. With nearly 40 years of making a difference, we're revitalizing communities into welcoming places to work, live, and congregate. By weaving together the best pieces of our past with modern technology and amenities, we're creating the hometowns of the future. Places where lifetime memories can be made, where you have all the things you need, along with all the things you want. Through partnerships with our communities, we're identifying improvement opportunities, recommending paths forward, and creating the plans for a better tomorrow. Imagine a world where there's enough food to feed everyone. We are at Mississippi State University, where we ring true.
Hello and welcome back to Renew, the show about the College of Forest Resources. Joining me now is Mr. Cody Blake, a graduate student in the Department of Sustainable Bioproducts. He's working with Dr. Jason Street, and he's going to give us some information about what he's been working on. So welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
I'm glad that you were able to be here. Could you tell me a little bit about the project that you're working on here in the department?
So my project is taking the agricultural waste, like Dr. Street was saying, and it's adding things such as corn oil or soybean oil, or the pyrolysis oil that Dr. Street mentioned are from that reactor, and we add it into our pellet machine to see if we can increase the properties such as durability or BTU content, while also trying to reduce the amount of energy it takes to produce those pellets.
Right, so if you're trying to produce energy, you don't want to spend more money in producing it than you get out on the other
Exactly.
end. That makes perfect sense. What drew you to this field in the first place?
Actually, it was kind of just a fluke. Actually, I was looking at another department, and they mentioned Dr. Street's name, and he called me and said, "Hey, would you be interested in working with me?" And I said, "Sure, why not? I'll give anything a try." And it's worked out great so far.
Well, that's good to know. We have some pictures of the equipment and the processes that you do as part of your research, and I'd like for you to explain them as we show them, if you would.
Okay, sure. Okay, so this picture is my pneumatic pelletizer that we made for a bench size test. So as you can see, it has a piston that moves through a die in the white portion, which is actually a heating tape. So we take our mixture of sawdust and additive and put it into the hopper, and the piston strikes back and forth to mimic that rolling die situation that happens in industry, so it extrudes it out the end. And we have a program that runs through a computer that can tell us how much PSI and how much heat is used in each one of these. as well as how long it takes to push this, so we can get just about all the information we need to see if our additives are helping us in getting those properties that we're looking for.
And I think we have a second picture, yes, that
Okay,
shows.
yeah, sure.
here.
This is just shows the computer. You can kind of see the computer program, which gives us the ability to control how long the press time is, the temperature, and we get our PSI reading to make sure we're staying within a tolerable reason with each strike of the thing. So it kind of puts everything into an Excel file that I can go back later and get all the information that I need.
Right. Okay. This field using wood pellets for energy is expanding. So how do you see the research that you're doing contributing to that expansion?
Sure. So this field is going to be very important later in the years as we use up our fossil fuels. We can use this renewable field of wood basically for sawdust or waste to produce any kind of pellets that we can use in industry for their boilers and heaters, or even for housing, for residential use. They use pellet stoves for heating purposes. So it's going to become a more important field in later years.
Okay. This is already kind of a big field in the Northeast. How do you see this working its way into the Southeast and sort of interfacing with natural gas and propane, some of the other fuels that we use?
Okay, so pellets run about $220 per ton. So it's kind of compensated with about 118 gallons of propane. So right now, you may not get as many BTUs from pellets, but you can compensate that by buying just a few more pellets, and that gives you, the compensation for that BTU loss. But right now, if we have a severe cold, it's easier to start a fire with wood than it is to try to reheat propane, or if your pilot light goes out. So if natural gas or propane prices start to rise, that's also a good way for the pellet industry to start getting more hands-on field down here.
Right. Well, we just have a moment left, but where would you see yourself in 5 years?
Hopefully, I want to be back into the academia side of things and teach classes.
That'd be great.
Or, help other pellet mills to use my research to help them make more money.
Well, I appreciate you coming, and I appreciate Dr. Street for stopping by and visiting with us and teaching us a little bit more about the Department of Sustainable Bioproducts. I also am appreciative of the time that you've spent watching this show, and I hope that you'll be able to come back and view us again. As always, if you have any comments, please feel free to let me know. And otherwise, I just encourage you to get out and enjoy this glorious fall weather that we're having and enjoy the bountiful natural resources we have here in the state of Mississippi. I've been your host, Leslie Berger.